gonna go on and share a video real quick
Okay, come
and
on.
see if let's see, try to uh-oh. I'm gonna try to share a video real quick.
D has 1,000 different benefits. Of course, strong bones, nice skin, nice hair are the minimum, but also vitamin T has been noted in scientific studies and protect you from getting for women breast cancer, colon cancer, cancer, your female organs, and prostate cancer and colon cancer. So I highly recommend that everybody. I don't know what vitamin D level is, but 9 out of 10 of my patients are not just deficient; they are so low sometimes you can't measure it.
Women, they don't want to stay at home when you pull them. They just want flexible working hours and flexible working conditions like you have. And I think we should all advocate for that. It's not one or the other. But when you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this and spend all your time doing that. We would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled.
Okay. Hi, my name is Candace Owens. I am a podcaster, a mother, a wife, and also the author of the upcoming book, Make Him a Sandwich. And today I am surrounded by 20 feminists. My first claim is that the sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy.
The connection solid now.
Yeah, it's the same. Like,
on your end.
Yeah, I ain't dropped off, so I don't know what's going on.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, I'm Samaya.
Samaya, nice to meet you. I'm Candace.
Nice to meet you too. So my question for you is, statistics show that 60% of women who are murdered by their intimate partners, murdered by someone that they are in close relations with. That's according to the UN from 2023.
Yeah.
So how is it that, women are so valued, quote unquote, in the home, and yet that's the place where they're at the most danger?
Okay, so I'm not sure what that has to do with the sexual revolution.
Right, the sexual revolution.
The first claim.
The sexual revolution gave.
I'm happy to answer it. I'm just saying that, if you broaden that statistic, you are more likely in general just to be murdered by somebody you know. So, of course.
But men are much less likely to be murdered by, their
That's not
partners.
true.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm sure, because men are less likely to be murdered by women. Full stop. Exactly. So that statistic makes sense to me. I'm still not sure how this correlates to whether or not
the sexual revolution increased women's ability to leave the house, women's ability to control their own reproductive capabilities, women's ability to, control their own capacity within the workforce in regards to their own sexual capacity. So it is the very fact that the sexual revolution happened that made our access to the workplace much more, or just the public sphere in general, much more easy. So without the sexual revolution, women would be much more confined to the place where they're at the most danger. Isn't that true?
So you think that, just so I'm trying to understand your argument here, you think that if we didn't have the sexual revolution, less women or more women would be murdered? Are you saying that women are
more women would be murdered for sure?
Okay, I disagree with that. I still don't think it has anything to do with the claim that women are infinitely less happy because of the sexual revolution, which has devalued women.
I think you'd probably be less happy if you're being murdered.
Oh.
Anyone disagree?
Okay, yeah, I don't, okay. There is definitely a correlation between personal relationships relationships
The
than
whole
domestic
thing-
violence. And just to be clear, if
Right.
we're talking about just like monogamous relationships, the most violent relationships that are on the books are between lesbian partners. Yes, when people are intimate,
That's not a
that
true
is actually
statistic.
true. They
No,
are-
the statistic you're talking about is people who have faced domestic violence. Lesbians, yes, are more likely to have faced domestic violence.
Yeah,
But
it's
that's
solid
because they
now.
typically
Nice job.
came from relationships with
Yeah,
men.
I-
in
No,
which
I-
they were
I don't know
lesbian
what it was.
relationships
It may
are the
just
most
been-
violent relationships that we have
Not
on the
true,
books
but we can
statistically.
move
We
on.
can
During
fact
the
check that
time, I
claim.
don't
The
know.
point being is that it's not exactly a stunning statistic to say that when people are in relationships.
Yeah, that sound good.
Okay.
Look
Well,
good.
So the sound clear. You
Yeah.
don't hear no noise, no sound, none of that.
Nah, long as you right there by the mic, you sound good.
Yeah, because this one is this is the one that I attached to it.
Yeah, that was picking up everything.
This one here.
Yep, that's picking up everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to that. I'm gonna have to go back and get two regular mics. But this condensed mic, I don't think it's working right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that one sound good.
Yeah, cause see this one right here is wireless, and this one
Yeah.
I got hooked up, you know what I'm saying, to the it's plugged into the what's the name of it? Like I said, I don't know. I'm gonna just have to get something else, man. I ain't gonna keep fucking around. Shit.
Yeah, that one sound better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one sounds straight. Yeah, I don't know what it was on my end because everything was fine until we got on, and then it just started dropping.
I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if it was my internet doing it or what. 'Cause the internet, it was working and it was solid at first, but then it just started tripping. As soon as I cut the shit on to start, going live. That's why I said I wanted to, for us to sit and just go live for a minute and play a video just to see if it stays solid. You know what I mean? So far, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far, it's good. Yeah, put that video back up. We're just gonna play it for a few more minutes just to make sure that that we in the game and it ain't no switch.
Okay, you need to be pulling from the layout.
No, I got it.
Okay.
No, I just picked the video with Candace on. I actually like Candace on.
Oh yeah, she be tripping on them.
Yeah, I hate she with that devil, but
Yeah,
I like the sister. Cause she be giving them training and them punks to run for they punk ass money.
She damn sure do. She can't stand them suckers, boy.
Yeah, boy. I mean, being a woman, you should hate this shit because this punk is claiming to be you.
Yeah.
Knowing he ain't. Knowing it's impossible for him to be you, but he's parading around as if he's you. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So she going up against 20 feminists now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that.
I've let you
Oh,
try to
yeah.
explain how this is correlated to happiness, and I don't think it does. I actually think
Yeah, they flop.
you're having a different debate right now. But yes, absolutely,
They
it makes
flop.
perfect sense that you are more likely in general when you are in a relationship because people are driven by anger by people that they know, whether or not we're talking about boyfriend and girlfriend, a husband and a wife, a husband and a husband, or a wife and a wife. Yes, of course, the instances of domestic violence are going to take place when you're inside of a home. But the sexual revolution, encouraging women to give up their goods for free, which is what I'm speaking about, and encouraging men not to marry these women or to have long-term relationships, what I am saying is a direct contributor to their unhappiness because women are giving up their goods for free and women are now entering the workplace and that does not actually make them happy.
Okay, pause. Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Would you be happy if you stayed where you are in life and job forever? If the answer is yes, then this video is not for you. But if you want to finally achieve the time, location,
Hello.
Hi there.
How are you? I'm Candace.
Nice to meet you. Julian, my pronouns are they, them. it's very interesting to think of it when we just think about the gender binary. It's, you know, how do we place value on human beings in general? And so when we think about, you know, placing value, that comes from a place of power, right? So I think let's select like the Victorian era. You have this dominant group of people coming from white supremacy, deciding who gets to have a proper status in the world. And so that is already like taking human beings and devaluing them. And so what the sexual revolution did was to help people seek out empowerment, which increased value no matter the gender. So when it comes to sexual revolution, let's look at one contribution is sex education. I'm actually an educator. I teach sociology and LGBTQ studies. And I have absolutely seen the positive outcome with the sexual revolution and sex education and seen people empower themselves. And with that comes safety when it comes to decreasing STIs, abuse, sexual assault. Again, people get to empower themselves of all genders. And I know earlier you mentioned about violence amongst lesbians and sapphic community, which I do identify within. All genders can be subjected to violence.
That was the point I was making. So I wasn't sure of how her claim was relating to what we were talking about, whether or not it makes people happy or unhappy. Relationships are obviously a ground where there can be violence.
I guess I could just wrap it up by saying, like, if we all have access to like sex education through the incredible work of feminists through the sexual revolution, we are able to gain access to information and gain skills to create an equitable society, egalitarian within our relationships, whether it be platonic or romantic. I'm so grateful for those feminists who have fought for us so we can gain those spaces and create a healthier society.
Okay, are you a believer in the government doing everything that it can to make people happy?
So when it comes, as someone that teaches in the public sector, I understand the concern when it comes to what is a teacher, you know, what kind of information they're providing to the students. I do believe that we, as a teacher, I should be able to give that sort of information. Again, I teach college students. One of my claims is I believe that we should mandate sex education amongst college students. So yes, I do want the state, I would like the government to give us those resources so we can implement that curriculum.
Okay. Are you consider yourself a feminist, I'm assuming?
A queer feminist. There's variations, right?
What is a queer feminist as opposed to a feminist, just so I understand?
Well, so I heavily believe in queer theory. So, you know, the gender binary that we understand, it comes from colonization. So someone who is mixed race, family from Mexico, you know, we have the Muxés of Mexico, which is an indigenous tribe. They believed in gender fluidity. And then you have European colonizers coming who dismantle that. And now everything that we understand when it comes to gender is a Western lens. So from a queer...
So you don't even think women exist, I'm guessing.
I think everyone should be empowered to figure out their identity and explore the language that best describes themselves. So freedom, America, right? America, freedom. And I want to believe in that when it comes to identity. Right. Everyone should have the freedom to decide how they want to identify, as long as they're not causing harm. But that's where we get into the debate, what is harm?
So just... Again, to be clear, to go back to this claim, we are debating female happiness. You are saying you do not identify as a female.
I identify with all gender expressions. So from masculinity to femininity. So
I'm just saying, are you just saying that as a part of queer theory, you're debating whether or not women are happier after the sexual revolution? I'm just trying to understand, because it seems like you're debating queer theory as opposed to female.
I believe all genders benefit from the sexual revolution.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Hello.
I'm Zena.
Zena, very much like your name.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Can we start with the beginning? Do you identify as a female?
I identify as a woman, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So I do want to get back to your premise. You're saying that women have been devalued, right, by the sexual revolution. This kind of presumes two things. One, that there has been a loss of worth, right, for women. So you're saying that women have, as human beings, lost worth. Women who, prior to their sexual revolution, were worth more than women today.
I would say that, yes, women have devalued themselves by becoming overtly sexual. That's my claim. So, I mean, also according to and let's not remove this from the other part of the claim, which it has made women infinitely less happy.
Right. So are you saying, but you're saying that according to you, women have been devalued?
Not according to me. according to the time in which people are getting married, how difficult it is for people to find a partner that's willing to commit to them. And I think that's in large part due to the fact that women are offering sex for free, because it was a major component of the sexual revolution was this idea.
So a woman's worth is tied to her sexuality.
It's not tied to, well, absolutely. If you're going to be having multiple partners, you are going to be devaluing yourself.
You're worth less as a human being.
Not as a human being, just, in terms of trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship. Certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when there's the market is growing them.
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
Yeah. Well, I would say that I would argue that what makes women actually happy is family. So if you're interrupting, so just to connect the dots for you, when women are having sex with multiple partners, it devalues them for men, right?
For men. So
yes. So
men define a woman's worth.
Well, I would say both of them kind of define one another's worth, because I think the ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
Okay. Yeah. So you're saying in all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And this is going to work in all cases. You're saying there's no individual case in which a woman can feel, fulfilled without being tied to other people in the case of family.
I think there could be an exceptional case for everything. I think there are exceptional cases, but I think that if we all start trying to be the exception as opposed to recognizing the rule, which is that people in life are more fulfilled when they achieve a family unit and when they have children, women in particular, especially aspiring to children, then you are going to end up with a bunch of people who are unhappy because your job cannot replace the feeling of having a family.
So what you're saying is we need to look at every individual case and see what is going to fulfill you or what is going to, I guess, essentially predict your happiness more. Because if we look at, for example, the Nordic countries, right? These are countries, I'm talking about like Sweden, Denmark, right? These countries tend to be like, I think in the past 14 years, they've been ranked as the highest in happiness and marital satisfaction from women, right? And we see that they also have been the most open in regards to like, sexual norms and sexual roles, right? So, and we also see that there's less rates of like STDs reported. We see more, and that's also due to comprehensive sex education that's pushed in those countries. So we see that and that's like a direct result of the sexual revolution, right? So when we're seeing that direct reports of happiness, right, we don't have these same rates in America. In these countries that are more sexually open, why would we see like those rates in those type of countries?
So I think you might be referring to this sort of mass-produced study that was a part of like a behavioral science study, which said that women, the happiest women in the world were women that were actually unmarried and had careers. No. Okay. Well, there was
reported happiness.
Okay, sure. I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness, but it could be there's tons of studies. The point being is that in 2023, there was this massive scandal where they recognize that a lot of these studies that were being produced, behavioral science, was proven to be a complete fraud. And they were unable to reproduce these studies. And they also found that the data had been faked. The data that we can look at that I think shows, and you can let me know if you agree with this, if women, and under the imagination of the feminist umbrella, were really unhappy when they were in the home, and then entering the workforce has made women happier and infinitely feeling more secure about themselves, we could, I think, reasonably expect that there would have been a decrease in suicide rates amongst women.
You would have to go ahead and show how that correlation, right, is going to be a direct cause of women going into the workforce.
Okay, well, how can we, let's measure, then you have to give me a way that we can measure happiness. How can we measure happiness? So I would say,
hey, a lot of these people just need to go and live your life. You want to be gay, just go be gay. But you is not going to make this shit make sense to nobody.
They trying hard, too.
That you're not going to do. You're not going to make sense of men just killing all these women like y'all just under fucking attack. When that shit is working on both ends. You got a sister that just stabbed and killed her man. What was that, last month?
Yeah,
just last month. I mean, it needs to stop on both ends. But this shit is not gonna make sense, and we don't never get it right going against one another. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just trying to justify that gay shit
all day. Yep. All right. Well, I think we good to go. Now we're gonna stop it.
Okay, go on, sir.